front's ever so slightly locked up, Mark.
Yeah, I can tell you we've had a few flashes of lightning down here. It's getting pretty wild down in pit lane. You can also hear the teams making discussion about changes to traction control settings. They've gone out there and they've been able to run under green flag hard conditions, and all those settings that they determined under yellows, they're all changing. So too the fuel mapping.
Waiting for confirmation also that Dario Franchitti, who we understand has had to take a shortcut, he's had a slip and a slide somewhere as to whether or not he'll be penalised, and we'll wait and get confirmation on that, but he's obviously had a problem somewhere. Brack is on the move. Jonquera has actually closed the gap a fraction on D'Amata this time. We're working lap 5 of 50, the 12th running of the Honda Indy 300. A start delayed event because of that incredible shunt on this part of the track on the Caltex Haviland front straight. Here is the man that's second at the moment. Missed out on pole by 100th of a second, and look at this. Dominguez has gone off, and that's in the turn 3 runoff at AAPT.
That'll chew up a bit of tread as he spins his way back into contention. Junqueira there lapped slightly faster than D'Amata, so Neil was on the ball. He did pick up some time. Junqueira with a 1:57.97 to D'Amata's 1:58.24. So he's the fastest man out there at the moment, Bruno Junqueira.
1.6 seconds is the gap first to second, 2.7 seconds back to Brack. There's the top 3. Let's have a look at the Toyota replay and see Dominguez actually got my corners wrong here. I think it's up at turn 8 Falcon Corner.
And this has brought so many drivers undone this weekend, not only in the Champ cars but in V8 supercars. And Neil, you were saying earlier, there's a lot of white patches there, there's a crossing, and there's also some off-camber sections as well.
There's a heap of paint on the road there, which is a drama, and there's also a surface change. There's also some patching from the previous year's event where on a hot day with these grippy tyres actually plucks little bits of the asphalt out, and there's some damage there, and they've had to put something in there. I don't know what kind of a filler it is, but it's very slippery when it's wet.
Taking off as much of the Ripley strip as they can through Foster chicane. There were witches' hats there only yesterday. They were removed after it was deemed unsafe. The witches' hats were torn away as the cars squirmed both under brakes and on the gas on the exit of Falcon Corner.
Jonquera is getting a little closer to D'Amata, and in particular because of that exit out of turn 8 that time for D'Amata, because he got the thing all crossed up. High intensity rain lights are all on. Everybody is on wet tyres at the moment. The track's still nothing like dry enough for slicks. But and as I understand it, looking out the front of the commentary box here at the moment, we've got more rain falling on the circuit, so there's no likelihood of getting to a dry weather tyre in the short term. The margin now as they cross the start-finish line. Let's have a look. D'Amata followed by Jonquera. The margin still 1.6 seconds. Brack is in third. Tony Kanaan is fourth. Paul Tracy continues in fifth, and Scott Dixon continues in sixth.
D'Amata dialing himself into the task here, perhaps a cautious lap on the restart. Bruno Junqueira working up to speed, then the pit board and the telemetry would have told D'Amata to get a move on.
It's not nice conditions for wet tyres here at the moment either. It's not what you'd call a full wet track at the moment. And what happens with the tyres, Bill, is they lose the cutting edge on the blocks on this wet tread pattern. And as soon as it starts to round off a little bit, and as you get more and more wheel spin at the rear of the car, these tyres can deteriorate to a point where they start to squirm on the blocks. Now, it's probably not happening at this stage, but it may not be far away from happening, and some of the drivers will be looking to see whether or not they can actually take the tyres into an area on the track where they can cool them out a little bit. But there's still plenty of water in places around the track, so they can do that.
Daryl Beattie.
Yeah, guys, just talking to the teams down here, Scott Dixon's team, and they're saying the window will basically stay the same. They're looking at around the 20-lap mark, and obviously that will depend a lot on if it is a yellow or not.
It's always hard to tell with paint jobs because it can be a bit of an optical illusion, but it looks like Tony doesn't have a lot of wing on that car. That's Franchitti. We've got a local yellow at turn 4 at the moment, and I reckon Paul Tracy might have a bit more wing on that car, and trying to determine an appropriate level of downforce in these conditions, front and rear, remembering that the front and rear wing is not only adjustable in its angle, but the gurney flaps or the little wicker bills. Oh, and what have we got here? And that was Dixon struggling to get power to the ground there on the exit of turn number 8. Has he got a problem?
Well, he was right behind Tracy, and now he is defending his position.
I think there might have been a bit of elbow used here. This is Dixon we're focusing on, an Indy Lights champion, a Formula Holden champion, a real bright young star, staying with Ganassi next year, going across to the other series in the IRL. And Tony Kanaan has a big slip and a slide. Who's this going round? It's Tracy, I think.
Tracy
Paul Tracy loops the Lola, picks the throttle up. Oh!
And a little touch there on the following car, which was in fact Scott Dixon. Just behind him, Shinji Nakano now has an opportunity. Not sure how much damage there on the Dixon car, 44. The arm was waving there, tear off of the visor.
He's pulling a tear off away from the front of his visor, so Nakano's the one in hot pursuit here. He's had a pretty strong weekend. Remember, he was involved in that shocking accident an hour or so back, and he's back out there with methanol burns on his hands from the last event in Miami 2 weeks ago, and he's really giving it a shake at the moment in position 7.
Yes, the big factor there, he said, was that his palms remain unburnt, and that's why he's had certainly a lot of uncomfortable driving, but it's okay.
Darryl Beattie's been monitoring the radio at the target team, and the word is that Scott Dixon's car is okay. No damage done in that as a result of that contact with Paul Tracy. This is one of the slippery spots on the track. There's a surface change just at the apex of Conica Corner, and that's a place where they have to be careful, Greg.
Neil Micklewright and the team from Players Foresight have called on some of the officials from CART to just look at the situation at the moment on the road up ahead of Alex Tagliani is Christian Fittipaldi. They're a bit worried given Christian's engine woes whether Alex might be getting held up. They're just bringing that to their attention right now.
Tagliani 13th on the track, Fittipaldi 12th. We have rain at turn 8, I understand, which is Falcon Corner. Well, that'd be the worst place. Right here, where we are at the moment as we watch Scotty Dixon starting to get momentum again, and Nakano not able to keep up with him. Dario Franchitti behind them.
In the V8 supercars early in the day, you could not touch the throttle on the exit of turn 8 up there. It was diabolically slippery, and that whole short shoot to turn 9 was just as bad. Darryl?
Yeah, you guys talking about rain. It's definitely raining heavy now in pit lane, and you can look out towards the west there with the wind, and it's the wind swinging around from the southeast to the west, and the low clouds are coming in again, so it's only going to get heavier now.
Jimmy Vasser circulating in 10th place, heading for the start-finish line. Down this curved straight.
Sorry, Bill, we'll give you a bit of an update as to who is where. Damata leads from Jonquera. Brack is 3rd. Kanan, Tracy, Dixon, Nakano, Franchitti, Serbia. Vassar is 10th. This man on screen. Then Jourdain, Tagliani, Fittipaldi dropping back. Tagliani, Fittipaldi dropping back. Carpentier, Andretti, Dominguez. And there's only 16 cars in this event, so that's the order at this point. We're 8 laps into the 50-lap event, shortened because of the accident and the late start. Is Honda Indy 300, that's Jourdain.
Jourdain, best result this year, 4th in Mexico and Vancouver. He's had 8 top 6 finishes, and in fact in round 4 led the championship through sheer consistency before they sorted themselves out. And the man who's leading this race, Cristiano Damata, took a firm hold on the championship. Jourdain there chasing Jimmy Vasser with the shell on the rear wing.
Yeah, the team Rahal cars, line astern, with Ford engines in these cars. It's the XF Turbo Ford Cosworth engine, and then a pretty big gap back. And it's Tagliani, followed by Christian Fittipaldi with the ailing engine in this car. Whatever the problem is, it sounds pretty awful. There's a debris flag in the background there, so something is on the course.
Sliding out there, Michael Andretti. Carpentier just ahead of him. He's the guy who's got to find his way past Fittipaldi now. Tagliani's teammate. He doesn't want to see Alex get too far ahead of him. Lots of rain there now on the beach side section of the circuit. Looking from the ground, you can see how thick the mist is.
It would be terrible out there at the moment. Andretti was the winner at Long Beach this year. Carpentier the winner at Mid-Ohio and Cleveland. And these guys are buried down at the field at the moment. They're just creeping their way around the course. And look at poor old Christian. He's got absolutely no grunt to launch that thing at the moment. And they're all just going to file past him. That engine does not sound good.
Carpentier won Cleveland round 9. And that was from the front row. It's a big ask this year to win from further back in the field. There was one win from 15th on the grid, and that was Michael Andretti, as you mentioned, Neil, at Long Beach. That was by far the biggest ride from grid to the flag.
These two were teammates several years ago at Newman Haas, and now Michael tries to range up on the outside of Christian. There's room, and he gets the job done. Look at the amount of water coming off the back of Michael's car. That overhead shot graphically displays. And look at the bad visibility on the approach to turn 1. Christian Fittipaldi there.
Christian is not going to be putting up with this for too long. Surely he has to come back in the pits. Perhaps that decision, as we look at Damata's fast lap so far, I don't know if that's going to be beaten, that 1:56.457, because the rain is worsening. The clouds are really closing in here on the Gold Coast. Thick and nasty as we go back on board with Dario. Let's have a listen to this car.
course yellow, so there's a problem around the course. We'll interrupt this look at Dario Franchitti and on board with him. Whoa! It is ridiculously wet out there at the moment. It is ridiculously wet. We're going to have pit stops here as people try and get themselves sorted in the sequence. Fresh wets will go on and potentially a top up of fuel. Have they brought the yellow because of a problem, or have they brought the yellow because of the amount of water on the circuit at the moment? We'll try and confirm that for you.
Well, there's Cristiano D'Amata coming into pit lane. Race leader, and by quite a clear margin.
It's hosing down out there. Mark.
Yeah, I've just had confirmed from the Newman Haas boys that yellow flag is because of the amount of rain on the circuit. They're going to hold it out there until conditions are considered unsafe. Cristiano D'Amata, meanwhile, has come in for a whole new fresh set of wets and a full tank of gas.
Well, they were a fresh set of wets till he started spinning up on the exit, but I don't think it'll do too much damage. There's enough water down there to preserve the tyres. Look at this, trying to get Tracy started. Team Cool Green, they're pushing them out of the pits here. Dixon's in for a change.
It makes the conditions very awkward for the team and crew members as well. Look at them trying to get power to the road. Dixon launches. It's a 50 mile an hour or an 80k speed limit in pit lane for champ cars. And Dario's looking to me as though it's been a slow stop for him. Here comes Servia.
And he just squeezes out in front of Oriol Servia. Yes, he looked to be waving impatiently, didn't he, as he sat in the car there, but you've got to spare a thought for the pit crews. It is pouring rain.
Fittipaldi in. Remember, there's a problem with this car.
Well, is there any point to going on if he is going to be passed so easily? You saw the power differential there between he and Andretti down the main straight. Well, no, they're not touching Christian's car. He's going to take a little tour here. He'll be a lap down in no time if the car continues at the same sort of pace he's been showing.
So they're in behind the Honda safety car at the moment, and oh look, Jonquera has leapt D'Amata in that pit stop, so we have a new race leader. Bruno Jonquera has gone to the lead, and D'Amata is in second place ahead of, I think it might be Shinji Nakano in third in the mist there in the green and white Fernandez entry. It is. So Nakano, great work from the Fernandez team to shuffle him up the pack into third position.
And Brack's up there as well. Still a strong representation from the Target Chip Ganassi team. We're a fifth of the way through the race. Further back through the field, this is Mario Dominguez. Best result this year was 8th at Road America. His only top 10 finish. It's been a tough year for him. In fact, he still trails Townsend Bell in the Rookie of the Year stakes, and Bell hasn't had a race since round 9. 11 laps down. We still have some ways to go here at Honda Indy 300. We'll take a break and come back shortly. We're still under yellow in the Honda Indy 300, but not all the drivers took advantage of that yellow flag, Neil Crompton.
No, so I actually got that very wrong before. So Jonquera and Nakano, and certainly Vassar, Jourdain, Carpentier, and Andretti didn't elect to stop them.
Oh, look at this. It's Oriol Servia's car. Now, it's not a methanol fire, obviously. We can see it, but it's still alarming, and he'll have to find some help pretty soon. In spite of this rain here that's still tumbling down on the Gold Coast. He'll go off an exit.
And the drivers are now complaining quite heavily on the radio about the track conditions. They can't touch the throttle due to aquaplaning on the straights, and Carter looking carefully at the situation at the moment, trying to determine an appropriate outcome. They're certainly not likely to get a green flag in the short term because of the amount of standing water that is beginning to appear on the racetrack. Greg?
Well, Neil, it's an issue that the drivers are debating. Barry Green, how bad in your view and in Paul Tracy's view are the conditions at the moment? What should they do?
Well, quite honest, all three of our drivers are saying it's absolutely appalling visibility. It's too bad, really too bad, you know, but we just got to soldier on into the yellow here and see if it clears up, you know. Not the conditions we like to run on them.
There is some suggestion that they're going to try and open up the chicanes during